After our golden retriever, Dixie, died, I assumed we'd be getting another golden. I'd always had goldens. The first one was Maggie, and then there was Rosanna Dana, and her daughter, Ruby Begonia III, and then my husband and I rescued Dixie from Georgia. I loved this breed because of their good nature and their warm, loving personality. I had lifelong anxieties and insecurities, and I doubted my capacity to be a good mom to anything other than an obedient and passive creature. So that's why I was taken aback when my husband told me one day, Sue, go in the computer room and look on the screen. I go in there and I see these pictures of these small, short-haired, lanky dogs. I said, what are these things? My husband goes, they're Chiweenies. I said, what? What are Chiweenies? He said, oh, they're part Chihuahua, part Dachshund, part wiener dog. And remember that time that we babysat for our son and that he had that dog and he and I became best buds? That was a Chiweenie. I said, that one that adored you and ignored me? What about it? He said, well, that's what I think we should get now. I said, well, you used to call them these yappy dogs that were like footballs that should be kicked to the curb. He goes, yeah, but that's what I want. I thought that I had pounded into this happy wife, happy life business, but obviously not. He had already found some. He picked them out, and they were the product of Chihuahua female, male dachshund, or vice versa, whatever. It didn't matter because I was just going to humor him for a little bit and then say, let's go look at Goldens. We get to this place where they have 2 Chiweenies for sale. And the first one that I see was this black, furry, cuddly thing, and he looked just like a golden. And I picked him up, put him in my lap, and he was so calm, he fell asleep. And then the other one was a female they called Pumpkin. And Pumpkin was loud, feisty, and obnoxious. She jumped into my husband's lap, twirled around, and then flew off and ran into the kitchen. And I thought, well, I'm going to put this one down. I'm going to go in and check on her, see what she's like, and maybe I can pick her up or whatever. I go into the kitchen. She's over in the corner. I reach down for her, and she yelps, and then I yelp back, and I run out of the kitchen. And I'm thinking, God, what a bitch. And my husband is laughing, and he says, well, Sue, which one do you want? Oh, and I should tell you that a big part of my anxiety includes impulsive decision making. So I said, I'll take the one that looks like a golden. And he said, well, I want Super Fly Girl because she's got personality. And then I said something that surprised the room. What if we take them both? Well, here's what I was thinking. My husband seemed enamored with this little bitch, and I thought, well, maybe I could get something from it partially because this one looked like a golden. But one of the owners said, if you take them both, they're going to bond with each other and they won't bond with you. So I felt a little bit of relief. But then the next thing I know, we're in the car trying to figure out a name other than Pumpkin, of what to call this thing. So I decide I want to at least honor part of her heritage. And so we bat around some Spanish names and then some words and some names, and I say, what about Nada? It means nothing, and she is a little bit of nothing. So Nada it was. And this little half Mexican, half Spanish, and half, what was the other part? German, thank you. German puppy loved my husband, and it was a mutual admiration society. She would sit in the crook of his arm, and they would be there for hours. He'd be sitting on the chair or on the couch, and he could be there for hours, and to the point of risking paralysis, to the point of amputation. But it didn't matter because she loved him, and he was willing to suffer for her comfort, but not me. But I did want to pick her up. She was so cute when she would curl up in a ball. But whenever I got near, if I tried to pet her, pick her up, or just play with her, she would growl at me. I was so worried she was going to bite me. I was terrified of her, and I had constant anxiety all the time. I just wanted to take her back. So I told my husband, come on, let's call the girls and say, we made a big mistake. I mean, that happens. He goes, I can't, Sue. I'm too attached. So we compromise and agree to get a trainer. The trainer comes in. She's this gruff-looking woman, and she's got muscular arms and muscular thighs, and she's got Tyrolean short shorts on, and she's got a sleeveless tank top, and she's carrying a clip bag around her waist. And I tell her, okay, here's the thing. Nada growls at me. She won't let me pick her up, and she nips at strangers. I'm used to Goldens that I don't have to be anxious around. So, can you do something about it? Because this little thing is mean. She said, dogs will bite for 3 reasons. Either they're innately aggressive, they're fearful, or they're anxious. I said, well, she's a combo of all of those. So can you just teach her how to behave? I train people to behave, and I teach dogs tricks. She's afraid of you because you're afraid of her. She thinks she has to protect you. You have to be the master and show her there's nothing to be afraid of. You need to put her down in the submissive pose. I feel my palms get sweaty. She tells my husband to go put a leash on Nada, and then she puts on these huge rubber gloves, and she pulls them up really heavy duty beyond her elbows. She gets on her knees. She puts one hand on Nada's neck and throat, the other hand on her hind leg, and she starts to growl. And Nada falls over, and she's shaking uncontrollably. And the trainer continues in this low, deep, guttural growl. And Nada's just helpless, and I feel gut punched. I feel like I've been punched in the gut. I didn't realize that Nada might be experiencing some of the same fears and insecurities that I feel. And I identified with her, and I was helpless. The trainer told us that we had to take her down and put her in the submissive pose daily. I said, oh my God, I can't do that. But I did it. I tried once. I did what she said. I put on my husband's rubber gloves, and I do all that stuff. And she fell over. She didn't bite me, but I didn't like doing it. We were both shaking. And, I felt like it was an aggressive form of discipline. And I felt like a bully and a failure, a mom who couldn't help her daughter overcome her fears and insecurities because she couldn't overcome her own. About 3 months later, I come in after work, and I've got my arms filled with groceries, and I yell out, I'm home. And I hear my husband from the computer room go, we're back here, just the 2 of us. And then I hear these tinkling of tags, and I watch as Nada runs down the hallway, and I think, oh my God, this is it. She's going to attack me, put me down in the submissive pose. And then she runs towards me, skids to a stop, puts her paws on my shoes, and I hear this thump, thump, thumping, her tail wagging on the tile floor. And I go, Nada? And just at that instant, I lose my balance, and I throw the groceries into the air, and I fall over on the floor with a thud, stunned. And I can see her out of the corner of my eye, and she goes over to the groceries. She passes on that, comes back over to me, and I'm thinking the worst, like I always do, but she doesn't go for my jugular. She licks me. She licks my face, my neck, any exposed skin, she's all over it. And she is literally showering me with doggy kisses, and I can't make her stop. And now my fear that she's going to rip my throat out turns into fear that she's going to lick me to death. But when I realize what's really happening, I just crack up, and I start laughing. And the more I laugh, the more she licks. And in that tiny, silly moment, I knew she loved me and accepted me, and I loved her back. And I was the happiest I've ever been. From what? A dog knocks me over, wrecks dinner, and slobbers all over my face, and I'm happier than ever? What's that about? And then it dawned on me. What was I anxious about? What was I afraid of? What was I worried about? Nada.